Good evening and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin. I am so happy you're here today because we're delving in to not one or two, but 3 book reviews. First things first, I had to take my nails off because the nail salons are closed. This is the first time in like 10 years. I don't even know what to do with myself. My hands look, oh, don't like it. Anyway, the first book that I'm going to talk about is one that I had been trying to read, and it was for one of my book clubs, and it's The Soul of an Octopus by Cy Montgomery. I really enjoyed this book. I think that Montgomery does a really nice job at delving into octopuses and making them relatable in a way that I had never read before. I think that she does a really nice job of drawing parallels between the animal world and the human world and consciousness. I was really impressed with how she conveyed her emotions and how she felt about these octopuses. And I know this sounds really crazy, but for a book that's about octopuses, as somebody who doesn't really necessarily care about octopuses, or octopi, I think octopi is the right terminology, but regardless, I really liked this. I would have never read this if it hadn't have been for my book club, so thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, First Drafts Book Club, because this was a 5-star read for me. I think that Montgomery has a real passion and a way of conveying her joy that she feels when she's with these animals. That conveyed back to me, especially the mysteriousness of the octopus, was just magical. And there's this really beautiful scene towards the end of the book where she talks about how these people who live on an island, the church is called the Octopus Church because it has 8 sides, and now it's more Christian based, but it used to be a pretty cool place for people to worship. And there's no crosses on the walls, there's pictures of boats, and she describes this place and how she feels while she's in this place and has a very spiritual moment. As somebody who's not particularly spiritual in the conventional sense, I connected with that wholeheartedly because I find my spirituality or how I feel about things in not common places. So magnificent. I know that she has another book coming out this year. I'm looking forward to that. Cannot wait to read it. Soul of an Octopus, 5 out of 5 for me. The next book that I want to talk about is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. And this copy I dug out of an unhaul box that I had put together before I moved because I was reading it through the audiobook from my library. I'm not finishing this. I am over 50% of the way through and I don't care. I have had this and been in process of it for probably at least 4 months, probably closer to 6 months. I have a lot of issues with this book, primarily the pacing. It starts out as something that you think is going to be this really intense, emotional read. And yes, it is that, but it quickly transitions into something that is more asinine. That's all I can think about. There are characters that get introduced here that you want to love and then you want to spend time with, and then it goes kaplooey. We're in New York, we're whisked away to Las Vegas, and then there's other whole cast of characters, and they are ridiculous, and I didn't care about them. I didn't care about the main character. I didn't think there was any excitement. I had a couple of people tell me that I should push through it and try and finish it, but I have zero desire to come back to this. And I know it won a Pulitzer. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something here that I'm missing, but I hate this. I'm not reading it because, well, If I'm over 50% of the way through, I will rate it, but I'm pretty sure that I'm a little bit less than that. So I'm gonna say it's either a no rating or a 2-star because it is written very well, but the story here is just not worth almost 800 pages. You cannot tell me that this bird is worth 800 pages. So it's going back in my unhaul box. The last book that I want to talk about is The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek by Kim Michelle Richardson. This was the book that the library had pulled because it was something that anybody could get a hold of without having to wait for something for a virtual book club. I like book clubs, so I tend to say, yeah, sure, if I can read it, if I can get it done in time, then I will attend the book club. And I finished it yesterday, and the book club was yesterday. I will tell you that this book is about a bookwoman in hills of Kentucky, and she is one of the blue-skinned people. According to the book, she is one of the last blue-skinned people. That is not a fictional thing. There was a real family in Kentucky that had blue skin, and it was a genetic trait that was passed down through the generations. I did a lot of research after I finished this book because I was intrigued to know if this lady didn't just pull this out of the woodwork. She is a member of the book delivery service that would bring literacy to people who maybe couldn't get to school or didn't have access to education. So that part of the book was really interesting. The parts that I found troublesome in this book were there's a really cringy romance that doesn't, I mean, there's no depth to it. You can see it coming from a mile away, and it's not a good see it coming from a mile away. It was a convenient romance. Yes, the historical fiction part of this is good because it's steeped in true facts. You're able to do a little bit more research if you're interested in that type of stuff, which I like. However, towards the end of this book, it becomes sadness for the sake of sadness. Things just happen one right after another. And I'm like, did you really need to add in that? I mean, it's like literally kicking a dog when it's down, or a person when it's down, or shooting a dead horse. One of those things where you're like, why is this happening again? Not to say that those types of things don't happen, but in this place, it literally happens in 20 pages of the end of the book. Which tempered my liking of this book, on top of the fact that I'm not a huge historical fiction fan. Take it or leave it, and sometimes they're fabulous, really make me emote, but most of the time I'm just nonplussed by it. For this book, I went to the book club last night and I discussed it with the librarian because she was the only one who was there. And we both agreed that it was okay. There wasn't anything bad about it. It was an easy read, but it's definitely just a middle of the road book. So I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I don't think that it's particularly well written. I do think that there is an audience for this. I am not that audience. I think that this book will probably be one that they're called the brown bag ladies at the library. They're a group of older women who've been in the same book club for a long time. I think that they're going to really enjoy it because typically they enjoy books similar to this that I'm usually like, it was okay. And they have also made me read books that I was not happy with. This was just 3 short book reviews. Again, sorry if this is your favorite book. If you were interested in starting it, maybe if you're not that interested in the back cover, which I wasn't, pass on it. Anyway, if you want an update on my challenge, it's going well. I have 2 of the books on audio that I will be starting here shortly. I am physically reading the other 3 books and they are going pretty well. I don't have any concrete thoughts on them just yet because I'm not deep enough into them. However, we will see what happens. Let me know your thoughts. Comment down below. I hope you enjoyed me compiling a couple of book reviews together in one video as opposed to one video for each. If you prefer one video for each, let me know. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and have a good night.